Good afternoon, folks. Can everybody hear me okay? Those in the back, show of hands. I have a trick to make an audience like this get quiet. I say the word commission. It worked in Vancouver. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd appreciate it if you maybe just come up a little closer to the stage. Sid and I were just chatting. We said we'd love it if it was a little more intimate, right? Come on up and spend some time. We don't smell, right? Very friendly, and I brush my teeth.
And I'm a little hard of hearing, so if there's any questions, I'm going to have a hard time.
That's right, exactly. It's nice to see so many familiar faces out there in the crowd. Friends of mine from industry, friends of mine from life, from my kids' schools, all those things. My name is Shane Stiles. I'm the president of Epic Real Estate. And I wanted to say thank you so very much for being with us this afternoon. We held an event similar to this. We held an Okanagan real estate exhibition in Vancouver a few weeks ago, where we had just under 500 Vancouver Lower Mainland agents come out to join us. And it was incredibly well received. The attention that the Okanagan and Kelowna in particular is getting is amazing, even given the times we're in. And they were very excited to hear about what Epic was doing in the Okanagan and Kelowna. But we were really excited about hosting the same event here in Kelowna. And we wanted to do it a little differently, where we extended the invitation to not only our realtor partners, all of our cooperating agents, and I know there's a ton of you out there. Thank you so very much for joining us, because you're an important part of how we're successful. But also to our many development partners and our partners in industry, architects and landscape designers and builders that help us bring these projects to fruition. So thank you very much for being here. The Epic is an old company in Kelowna becoming new. As you can appreciate, we've been around for nearly 20 years, and we have a storied past. But we have new beginnings over the course of the last 2 years that I'm very, very excited about. Our team has grown to nearly 30 over the course of the past couple of years, and you need that many people when you have this many fantastic projects. Thankfully brought to you by incredible development partners that we work with, that we're really, really excited about. I didn't say commission, and they all got quiet, Sid.
I think it was your pregnant pause there.
Yeah. I like to take my time. My team asked me, someone on my team asked me, they said, a few days ago, they said, why are you so calm right now given the market conditions? I said, is there any reason to be anything other than calm? I've been here before. It too shall pass. But we'll get into that a little later. Anyways, what I'm very excited about today is introducing our keynote speaker, who I'm very fortunate to consider and call a good friend of mine. I had the incredible good fortune when I did a pivot in my career 25 years ago to get a job with a company called Sapira in Vancouver. It was a real estate, new home, project sales and marketing company that focused on resorts. It was a natural for me, having grown up in Kelowna and being in a resort town. And Sapira stood for Sid and Pete's Excellent Real Estate Adventure. And it was as fun as the name implied. We had an incredibly good time there. I started working and 4 days later flew to Mammoth Mountain, California to do a project. And then I was in Vermont. And then I was in Whistler and all those things. It was incredible. So thanks for the opportunity, Sid.
My pleasure.
Sid has been a mentor in industry to many people and is really, truly an international leader in the real estate world. He's a thought leader, he's a design leader, and a creative thinker when it comes to the marketing and sale of some of the most dynamic and exciting projects in the world. So we're very fortunate to have him here today. He's widely recognized as the co-architect in new home project launches, and in particular the limited priority reservation program that anybody here who's been in our business is familiar with. He's marketed and sold over 30,000 development properties worldwide, and is the proud co-founder of World Housing, which they created to benefit and deliver housing to the world's needy populations. So I'd like you to please welcome, give a more round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sid Landolt.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andy. This is a great event. Like, this is an awesome event, a great energy in the room. I'm most impressed with the fact that the Blue Rodeo concert is starting any minute now, and you guys are still hanging around. So, very excited about that. Thank you very much. Well, I just really quickly on Epic, what a result! What an impact you guys are having in the market. And you know, full disclosure, Epic is representing us in 2 of the development partnerships on 2 of the properties that are being represented here today. And you know, you measure a company by their success, but you also measure a company about how they operate. And especially with the real estate professionals in this room, because of that relationship between new home marketing and sales and the real estate professionals working in the resale market. I will tell you, my experience with these guys has been exceptional. I can't wait to do many more properties with them. And I say that because of how they run their business. A very clear idea of who they are and the culture in the company. The direction and where they're going, the team that they've assembled, and the leadership that they have continuing that forward. An amazing company, and I'm so happy and honored to be here to talk with all of you. But I bet you didn't come here for the Shane and Sid Mutual Admiration Society presentation, so let me get on with some things that I'd like to share with you. I'm going to start with a relatively short story about my last year in Kelowna, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. And I'm sure you've got a couple ad-lib questions, well rehearsed. And anyone in the audience, please, if you have any questions that spur off, I'm happy to take any question whatsoever. So in July last year, I got an invitation to participate as a development partner in a property in downtown Kelowna. And the last time I'd done business in Kelowna was 1996. So holy moly, you know, I know things have happened, but I've spent the last 25 years in international markets, mostly in North America, but also Europe and Asia. And I was just like, oh my God, I gotta get updated. So I called my daughter Samantha in Calgary, who had just recently graduated and was gainfully unemployed. And I said, meet me in Kelowna, let's spend 2 or 3 days there. We need to do a market study. So we went around and we got all the data, and we talked to all the various leaders in the real estate segment at least, and oh my gosh, I could not believe the change. Like, it was stunning for me. It was like going, 25 years later, fast forward, the industry and the business that's developed. I was talking to Nikki earlier about that. I mean, it's like outstanding. The recreational development, the real estate development, the industrial development, the residential development, the cultural development, the food and beverage, what the city has done with these cultural assets and innovation centers. And I was like, holy smokes, this place is going somewhere. Like, I was so taken aback. But there was something bugging me. And what was bugging me was how the story of Kelowna was being told. And in some ways it was this feature list of all these great things. Biking, swimming, or the lake, the mountains, this commerce, it's a feature list without a vision necessarily on where all that's going. So I thought, it's great, I love it, and it's a version of what we talked about in '96. But what's the story? That's the checklist. That's the checklist of features. What's the story? And it was bugging me, and I dropped Samantha and Sam off at the airport, and I said, she goes, well, what do you think? I said, we're all in. We're all in on this community. But I said, it's still bugging me. She said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm just going to let it come to me. We put it out there, it'll come to me. Well, lo and behold, the next week I'm cleaning my office and I find this magazine called Monocle. And I don't know if anyone knows anything about Monocle magazine. It's pretty cool. It's published in London. It's generally targeted towards wealthy young adults, like everyone in the room here. And I flip it open and it's got, the world's 25 best small cities. Wow, that's pretty cool. So I open it up and I'm looking through it. Lo and behold, number 5 is Victoria. And I'm thinking to myself, Victoria's number 5? Well, where's Kelowna? I just was in Kelowna. I mean, that you know, I think it's better. Well, Monocle does a great job. When they do their analysis, they look at business opportunity, welcoming culture, and access to nature. And that's how they rank them. And you know what? I was pretty proud of the fact that a city in province of British Columbia got number 5 on the list in the world. Fast forward 60 days, maybe a little bit more, probably 90. And I'm in Chicago, and I'm at the Urban Land Institute conference, and I've been invited to a dinner with a business associate. And I get to dinner, and who shows up but Chris Fair of Resonance Consultancy. And I'm not sure if you know what Resonance does, but what Resonance does is they work with cities, municipalities, provinces, civic governments, and developers on placemaking, research, city building, branding. That's their core business. And they're most famously known for a report they do which ranks the top 100 cities in the world and why. And the second thing is they hold a forum called World Cities. So these people know more about cities than anyone I'm aware of. Well, poor Chris. I mean, I'm sitting in this steakhouse in Chicago and my arms are flying around and I can't stop talking about Kelowna. He's going, I get it, Sid. You know, I've been there. But I said, I don't know if you really get it, you know? And he goes, well, and I start talking about Monocle, and he goes, well, maybe we should look at Kelowna. Maybe we should look at Canada. And you know, how do the small cities in Canada rank? You bet, dude, like 100%. I think that's a great idea. And I got a call from him later in the year. He goes, I've already started the research. I'm super excited about what's going on. And I said, great, you know, well, we've got this property we're working on. It's going to be coming out in the summer. You know, when's this coming out? Well, you know, it takes a lot of work, Sid. It just, you know, something happened overnight. We got all our other reports and so on. And lo and behold, this morning, it was released. And our gift to you is you get a copy of this report as you walk out. There's boxes of them. And I don't know if anyone's seen the press release, but I will share with you that when Resonance takes a look at assessing a city and ranking it from the best, number 1 through the 25th, they look at 6 key factors, and it's in the report. I'm just going to list: place, product, programming, people, prosperity, and promotion. And Kelowna, thankfully, and I'm actually quite proud of this, ranked number 2 in the country of Canada as the best small city in Canada. Number 2, and you'll see that in the report. I mean, given Victoria's international recognition, deservedly number 1. Deservedly number 1. So what does that mean to our story? How do we move from a checklist of incredible features to a vision or a greater story? And I think it's all right here. I think it's all right here. There is a state that I call becoming when you move from where you are today to where you're going to be. And the distance between my hand and here, where you are and where you're going, is what I call the opportunity zone. I look at Kelowna on July 6, 2022 with significantly more opportunity than I did when I was here in 1996. Like, not even a comparison. Because Kelowna, in my mind, not just my mind, but what you see in the research, is that Kelowna is becoming one of the world's greatest small cities. It's number 2 in Canada. It's on the path to being the one of the greatest small cities in the world. For a long time, we've had the same lens on the same landscape. And I'm challenging everyone here to start looking at what you have with a different lens. And that lens of the vision, that lens of what you have is special, like really special in the world. I'm here, I could go to any market, and yes, I'm in other markets, but I made a real commitment to Kelowna and the central Okanagan, because I see something here, I see an opportunity that, candidly, I don't see everywhere else, because you're becoming. You're not managing the status quo, or you're not marginally improving. You guys are making a massive step forward. And I see it when I travel the world. I see the assets, I see what happened here. I looked how Monaco looks at ranking cities, and Kelowna is right there. So what do you do about it? And I'll wrap with this. The very most important thing that anyone can do when change is in the air is to make up their mind. And then, as they think about it, start working in the vision to what you're doing. If you're a city official, anyone who's making a decision, anyone who represents a stakeholder group in the community, the question you ask yourself is, how are we moving our city to be one of the greatest small cities in the world? If you're a developer, you ask yourself, what is my property doing to contribute to the path to being one of the greatest small cities in the world? And if you're real estate professionals, like the most people here, you ask yourself, how is my story evolving more than what that story was in 1996 of a checklist of features? How am I projecting the vision of where we're going? Because we are going there. So that is the new lens on a very familiar landscape.
Very cool. So I have a question right out of the gate here. Sid, you have a global perspective. You do have the opportunity to invest your capital anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Having known you, I know that you invest, you have a passion, but you always talk about the heart and the wallet, okay? And I know that we just talked about the heart, but I know that the wallet side is that practical underpinning of making a good investment.
Yeah.
Can you share with us why those practical parts about the Okanagan and Kelowna and why you've invested here?
Sure. I may not answer exactly the way you asked it, but I'm going to say, what are the criteria to make an investment? What are the criteria to invest your time, energy, money, whatever you're investing in real estate? And I just have 3 things. And I've already covered one of them. So that was the heart, like you said. And that is, what are you becoming? Where are you going? Because that zone is the opportunity. And then there's 2 more practical things. One is in migration. Is the population growing, and is this a place that will show continued population growth over the mid to long term? Well, I don't know, I just read an article when I was in Europe last week going, holy moly, like this is the fastest growing sector and projected 14% growth in the next till 2026. So that answered that pretty good. And I figured that out in July though, when we did our market study. And the second thing is capital. Is capital moving in to this area? Are businesses upgrading? And you take a look at, I take a look at the wine industry. They've gone from, I don't know if it's 5 years or how, they've literally gone from here to here. And I see that in all the industries. And I was talking to Nikki about it too. And just this growth in business and the capital investments that are being made everywhere, civic, within the business community and so on. So Kelowna's got it, but Kelowna's becoming. Kelowna has people moving in, Kelowna has capital coming. That's like the perfect scenario, Shane. So, yes, when I looked at Kelowna, that was the basis by which I said, we're all in.
Well, and I think along those lines, we spoke about it earlier today, just that move by UBC to come downtown, and what that does. I know that you've researched cities and the impact that a university campus has on a downtown university campus in particular has on a city. That move in itself, I know, got you quite excited.
Yeah.
You can speak to that quickly.
Yeah, sure. So, well, first of all, when Samantha and I were running around saying, hey Sam, like, I see this university company, but I don't know a lot about what universities do to downtown. So she did all the research. So I got to give her the credit on that. But you know, intrinsically, you know. So Shane said something about heart and wallet. And if you in any relationship, the strongest ones have a strong appeal to the heart, a strong reward to the wallet. And I mean this more on a commercial basis. But when you take a look at anything, I look at it, and heart and wallet is the same as value and meaning. Sorry, meaning and value, heart and wallet. And I think when someone you're talking to, the real estate professionals in the room, when you're talking to customers, prospects, believe me, the one thing you don't have to say to them, this is a really good financial decision. They're so far ahead of you. They already know what it means to be downtown with a university campus. You can say it, of course, but believe me, they're going to say it to you before you say it to them. Really, it's in the area of what a downtown campus does to the culture and the community of the area. And it comes in a number of different areas. One is simply the partnerships that are made between the university and merchants and other stakeholders and cultural institutions. It's great to have the campus out there. Quite frankly, the campus out there was one of the main drivers, along with the airport and other things that took place. This elevated Kelowna, but a campus downtown, are you kidding me? That's in line with Edinburgh, Scotland. I mean, everyone's been there. I mean, it's pretty cool, the campus is there. I was talking to someone, I'm sorry, I can't remember which media outlet, but we're talking about Windsor and the impact that downtown campus had. And she actually covered the opening of that campus in Windsor, what it's done to Windsor, like a tough place, right? It's been a tough area. Brampton, Boston, New York, all these cities with downtown campuses, and the cultural change, the population change downtown because of the number of people that go to the school and then come back to live. So there is so much meaning around a campus coming downtown, way beyond just simply the financial.
So let's address the proverbial elephant in the room. There is a lot of market uncertainty today. Okay, it's changed quite a bit, particularly in the last 8 weeks, couple months. So let's speak to that. Let's address that and what that looks like as someone who's
like head on.
May as well face it head on.
Okay. Well, does anyone else have any questions? Let me answer this one and we'll whatever. So, I had the good fortune of starting knocking on doors as a real estate professional in 1983. So that was coming out of the bottom of the worst market cycle, and you know, quite frankly, been through I don't know how many, because we work in so many geographies that it could be hot here, it could be slow in California. So you know, there's just so many ups and downs, and when I take a look at where we're at today, I see a real conflict in the market that's working its way out right now, okay? The conflict is this: we have rising interest rates, and we have rising inflation. This is where the conflict arises. That on rising interest rates, we know it's going to impact the market. I mean, this market's doing what every other market does: supply-demand cycle. Supply-demand cycle. It's as predictable as anything you could imagine, right? And what that means is less buyers early are in the market. I'll come back to that. Then you've got inflation, and every economist, every financial advisor will tell you the same thing. In an inflationary period, get into hard assets. Well, real estate's pretty hard. Real estate's pretty permanent. A pre-sale contract is a contract on a hard asset. So I don't care whether you're buying it in closing or you're buying it in 3 years. So the hedge against inflation is hard assets. So you've got this confusing message right now in the market, and it's sorting itself out, I believe, fairly quickly. When you take a look at changes like interest rates or government policies, it does take a little bit of time to react, but a lot less than you think. And I will tell you, 9 out of 10 of the times, the buyers are ahead of you guys. The buyers are ahead of you. And the conditions that exist in Kelowna are not going to change because of interest rates or inflation. Markets adapt. Interest rates. What happens when interest rates go up? I don't know if you guys remember the many times that, you know, interest rates have fluctuated and so on. People adapt. You shop harder for mortgage rates. You go for the lowest term, the lowest rate that you can. 4% 1-year money, right? You can go to open mortgages. They're about 2 3/4. Like, you work hard at it, you change the term, you cycle them more. Parents for first-time buyers would have to help with down payments and nothing else. Well, guess what? Now they're going to help with down payments and a little bit of monthly, right? Everything starts adapting because the need for housing is not going away. Is not going away. And, you know, a lot of the properties that Epic represents are pre-sales, right? Well, there will be projects that do not move forward because of the concerns. Those that, just think about that. We've got these properties on the market. Let's say 2 or 3 steps back. What's going to happen 3 years from now? The knock-on effect is significant. Those that go in today are going to be receiving their home in a marketplace that is even more restricted in supply right now. So just got to think through these market dynamics. I could go on, I could do a whole hour on sales training on dealing with the situation, right? But real estate, let me do one last thing, and that is the buyer that walked in February, for the real estate professionals in the crowd, the buyer that walked in February already knew that they were to buy now, right? The buyer that walked in right now, they're a little uncertain whether they should buy now. It's time to get really crisp on why someone should buy now. You didn't have to do it for a long time. It was just assumed, okay? But those that buy in this market will be very happy over the long term. They always are. It's a long-term asset. I would say of all the, of all the real estate that I've ever bought, half of it has been in the top of the market. Half of it. The home that I just sold, that went up about 600% because I've had it for a long time, I bought, I think, about 10% over. I bought it and it went down 10%.
Well, I'm not going to bore people with my story, but after this, take me aside and I'll tell you about a home I bought that I just did the IRR on it last week, and it returned 10.2% over the last 14 years, and it went through all of these.
And wasn't it 08 or 9? Like, you bought it?
I bought it in 07.
07.
I closed on it in 2009. I was in negative equity position when I closed on it, and I just did the math, all the full math, and it returned 10.2%. And I would challenge anybody here, if I said if I had 10.2% investment, would you be interested in that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'd gladly tell you the details. You all know the project and all that. It's an interesting story. So you've done over 30,000 sales. I'm curious, from your end, how many of those sales involved outside real estate agents? In other words, buyer-represented real estate professionals.
Yep.
And your advice to those agents to be successful in the future for pre-sale developments, or any advice you have?
Okay, so I'm just going to estimate probably about low 20s, 22,000 approximate resale real estate professional transactions in, just every market you can imagine: Eastern Canada, Western United States, Hawaii, wherever, Mexico. And I get the benefit of sitting down with the very best in each of those markets. And there's three common traits, and it's extremely predictable. So those that are successful in their market, those that are successful in the pre-sale end of it, which I can talk about in a minute. 3 things. One is their number 1 priority is they get their customers into great real estate. The worst thing that could happen is you get a call, closing, 2 or 3 years later, this is awful. Okay? It's the greatest fear of the best real estate professionals. So you're, who's the developer? What's the location? What's the design? What's the architecture? That kind of thing. The second is they are actively involved in the service of their customer in partnership with the local on-site teams. And at least when I was marketing and selling real estate, our mandate was to have a one-on-one custom relationship with each of the real estate professionals that we were doing business with. I'm sure that's carried on with your leadership as well. And so heavily involved. And then the third thing is, they recognized enduring value. What does that mean? And may I sidebar for a minute on enduring value? Because one of the greatest challenges in a real estate market is when price equates value. And it's very easy to get trapped into that. Oh, that's a better price, it's $25 a square if there's not value there. And the best real estate agents recognize value in two spots. At the time of purchase, doesn't have to be the cheapest property. And many times that's not always the best value. Sorry, you probably have properties at all different things, but I'm just sharing with you. And then it's the lasting, enduring value at closing. And this one's a lot more, more difficult to understand, but it's really important. And that is, you have two components in a building. You have the individual homes. And most of the real estate professionals spend a ton of time on that. And that's great. It's important. Size, bedrooms, bathrooms, price, finishes. But that's not enduring value. That's just a house. The home comes in, what happens all around that? And how are you creating a community and social interaction in that multifamily community? Because once you've lived in it for a year, then people in the right buildings, the ones that have really spent the time at studying and creating enduring value in their properties, everyone wants to be in there. And the price of those properties outperform the general market once they get to market, once they close. So what does that mean? I'll just agitate just a little bit. The single greatest issue in high-rise and or 6-story, 5-story frame buildings in multifamily is loneliness. I have 200 homes in my community and I don't have one neighbor. Are you kidding me? It's dreadful. And enduring value comes from communities that actually address that up front. And the real estate professionals that start understanding it, okay, it's a huge difference for your buyers. Yes?
So are we supposed to get off hugs or like for the loneliness?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Are we supposed to give out hugs for the loneliness?
No, well, can I address that? Because that's a great question, which is, may I paraphrase it a bit? How do you combat loneliness? Like, what is it in a multifamily that does that? Is that a fair paraphrase? Okay.
I think that maybe misunderstanding a little bit.
I heard huts. I heard the word huts.
Yeah, no. Where Sid's going is it's in the design of the building.
No,
okay?
no, it's nothing. No. What I'm saying is, when you're working with your customers, there's value in the area of communities that create social interaction and foster community. There's 3 things to look for. Okay, now I'm going to give you what to look for as a real estate professional. What are the amenities that are being offered? Important, but not the most important. Okay, that is called checklist amenity, and you start seeing more and more developers all putting as many as they can. I look at editing some of them out and just do them incredibly well. But the 2 most important things after what you're putting in is adjacency and circulation. Because the goal of combating loneliness is social interaction. And in a condominium, it's how do you interact with people without a programmed concierge? That just the way you design the property, people can't help but interact. Last quick story. So I'm doing this focus group. I'm in Surrey City Centre. Tamara's on the property, and I bring together all these owners, and I say, okay, we're designing on the property. You know, what's your favorite room? And we go through all the rooms. #1 favorite room was the laundry room, because people could come together, do something, and work together. So it's really, as real estate professionals, recognizing it's more than just a checklist of things, it's how they go together and getting your customers into that for enduring value. I went on too long, sorry. I'm sort of passionate about this stuff, so yeah.
Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up because we've got a lot of people here. I know you guys want to mix
Any
and
questions?
mingle.
Okay.
It's my show.
Sorry, I don't.
Just kidding.
Go ahead.
I think that's good. Unless we have any pressing questions. Chrisanne, anybody? Listen, I'm sorry?
I'm happy to answer any questions after.
Yeah, Sid and I will be around and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you so very much, Sid. Make sure you make a point of getting your best cities report on the way out the door. Okay? And a round of applause for Sid Landolt. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.